Cabri,
Cassandra, and Nicole.
and we are here with Miss Yvonne today. Would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Yvonne Bellamy, and I'm with Bellamy Tax Services. We do taxes and financial planning, primarily with people who live in Baltimore County, Baltimore City, but we work with people that live in Harford County, just anywhere in the state of Maryland. We're open all year. I'm a licensed tax preparer, and I'm also an annual filing season record of completion award person, and I'm also what you call an ERO. I'm an originator, so I can transmit tax returns. Everybody who's a tax preparer is not an ERO. And
Can you break that down again?
So you can be a tax preparer and not be an originator, an ERO. An ERO is someone who can actually transmit the tax returns. Mm-hmm. So you can have 2 or 3 people working in your office, and only one person is an ERO. Okay. So they're preparing the taxes, but the ERO is the one who is submitting. Because to become an ERO, you have to send your fingerprints to the IRS. There's a bunch of things that you have to do, and they're constantly checking your own financial stability. Mm-hmm. So if you're not stable, they will yank that right from underneath you.
Is that for fear of like stealing people's money?
I guess, when it makes like, how can you help other people if you, and it also means that you can have a payment arrangement also, because when you're self-employed, you can still, there's a lot of taxes you have to pay yourself. Yeah. And something can just get away from you, and so you could say, well, let me make a 3-month payment arrangement. You gotta have something, you just can't not pay your taxes. Yeah. It's like working for the state. You gotta pay your taxes if you work for the state.
Yeah, I don't mess with my taxes.
Yeah, I don't mess with mine either.
Yeah, and I have, Miss Yvonne does my taxes, and she did my mom's taxes, and every year I'm like, well, what's new? What I need to do? And she actually will put me through a questionnaire as if I am getting audited, so that if I do get audited, I am well prepared. Mm-hmm. So, and not many tax preparers can say that they do that.
Well, because it's easier to go after moderate to low income families.
Because they always try and get a couple extra.
Yeah, because they don't have the person trying to catch it doesn't have to be an accountant. Mm-hmm. All you got to do is, they're not really auditing you. What they're doing is asking you to prove your tax return. So they can just randomly pull anybody and go, prove you can get these credits. And people get flustered when they get those letters, but working with me, I'm like, don't get flustered. Yeah. We're prepared. Tell me how you would prove they're your child. Tell me how you would do this, you do that. And yeah, coming to me can be,
So I guess I'm gonna ask, how do you identify somebody as a fraud tax person?
Well, I actually get a lot of referrals because the main thing, I know this wasn't part of the questions, but I'm glad that we're talking about this though. The main thing is, and Capri will tell you, when I do someone's taxes, we go through the whole tax return, line by line by line, right? Because I get people that someone else, when a taxpayer says to you, let me work on it, there's a problem. Because numbers are numbers, right? You want to make sure somebody gets all their deductions, but if you can't even read your tax return, you don't even know they added a business on there that you don't have and took a substantial loss to reduce your taxable income so you can get a bigger refund. And then the IRS says, oh, can you prove your Schedule C? And you're like, I don't even know what a Schedule C is. So you can, because this year I went so first of all, you have to be licensed in the state of Maryland, and that's how somebody's name ends up at the bottom of your tax return. That's number 1. Number 2, because I went through the annual filing season with the IRS, now if you actually go to the IRS site, you say you're looking for a taxpayer, if you put in my zip code or my name, I will pop up, right? Everybody doesn't get to pop up like that. You have to be part of the annual filing season. You got to take all these classes and stuff. Friends' recommendations are pretty good, but when friends recommend someone, that is the best way I do. I never understand anybody just Googles a tax preparer. I don't understand it, but people do it. But if a friend recommends, ask your friend questions. Like, does this person go over your tax return with you? Have they changed their rates from year to year? Are they getting more and more and more expensive? Do they just tell you drop off your stuff and walk
I had a
away?
bad experience with that. He used the wrong social security number for my daughter.
Right.
So of course I got audited.
I'm
But
surprised
I dropped
how
it
did it
off.
even get through, because it usually
Yeah.
will stop it. So maybe he mailed it
Like,
in
how it
afterwards.
happened. Yeah,
Yeah, instead of calling you, I will call a client a minute and say,
that's crazy.
yeah,
Oh yeah, but he was known to get you, and that's not why I went to him, but it was a referral. He was known to get you thousands of dollars.
oh yeah, that's a problem.
So when I
with that.
hear stuff like that, I'm like, something ain't right.
Yeah, I'm pretty much known for, let me warn you.
That's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Before you go see her, let me prepare you for, you know, if there's something like, if you're not doing some things right for your taxes, she's gonna side-eye you, and then you're gonna be in there. Cause I'm by appointment only.
Right.
First of all, I don't do walk-ins for a couple of reasons. So actually at my office, you're not sitting next to nobody coughing. So
Lord knows you're not.
yeah, I do appointment only because your time is your time, and I usually schedule everybody out at like at least an hour and a half, and yeah, so that we can really talk. Because sometimes you'll just be talking to a client and they'll say something, you go, "What? Wait, huh? Come back here," and then you're like, "You don't even get a credit for that. What's going on? Can you pull this up?" I have another computer in my office, so you can sit there and try to pull up stuff that you didn't think you should have bought. So yeah, you just gotta, even when someone recommends them, you should ask questions. You should ask questions. Some people like the drop and come back. I personally, I don't do that. Even if I let somebody drop this stuff off because their stuff's a little complicated, they have to come back and sit down
To go through it.
and go through it so that we understand. And nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect either, you know? So when we're going through it, somebody say, like I just was with a client recently, and he was saying, I looked at his W-2, I was like, you're not putting any money in your retirement? He said, yeah. I said, well, why is your box 1 and your box 3 the same number? He's like, it is, I am. And I'm like, let me see a pay stub. Right? So then he had to go out to his car and get some pay stubs, and then he called a friend. So I guess, what's that game show where we call a friend?
Lifeline. Give me a lifeline.
Right, so he called a friend and goes, what's your tax preparer doing with your, is yours pre-tax? I'm trying to explain to him pre-tax, and if it's pre-tax, box 1 and box 3 cannot be the same, you know. And then he gets the pay stub, and I said, dude, you're putting money in a Roth. Oh, he's like, yeah, he's like, no, I'm not. I go, yes, you are. And then he called his friend. His friend's like, no, our money's going in. I'm like,
how did they not know that?
Besides, people can't read their tax return. People can't read their pay stubs. Or because everything's so electronic now.
Yeah, before
people
they
like,
would explain it more, like everything is now, you go online. I know jobs used to have people come out and talk to you and set it up, but everything is like online generated. So you're on your own trying to figure a lot of this stuff out.
So we went back and forth. He called his friend swore up and down, and maybe the friend is putting it in a non-Roth. But I was like, listen, I'm not sending your taxes. I need you on Monday morning to call HR. I don't want to call HR. I need you to call HR and the people you're investing in and find out if this is a Roth or not. And if it's not, because on your pay stub it says it is, then your W-2's wrong. And they need to fix your W-2. So he texted this morning, hey, that's the first thing that came
Because
to
he
my
knows
text.
about to be like, you was right.
He's like, it's a Roth. But I explained to him the benefits later of a Roth and how it even benefits Social Security later. Because Social Security is taxable when you're retired, right? And it's all based on what additional incomes you have coming in. But if you have a Roth, and depending on how you start to withdraw the Roth when you retire, it doesn't affect the Social Security. So less of your Social Security becomes taxable, even though you're bringing in more money, right?
That's crazy.
So yeah, so he was like, so that was funny. I was like, you can cash at me a tip if you want to, since you didn't even know what you were putting your money in. I just got a whole bunch of laughing emojis. I don't know if they count in Cash App, but
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I did want to ask before we get started and all the questions. Like, there's a lot of new tax laws. So with the WT, well not WTs, but when you're doing like your dependents, a lot of people had questions.
It changed.
I still don't understand what's going on with that. Like, I try to call HR. With new companies, they have not been able to explain it.
So I don't know when this started, but apparently one of the things that we have to take is ethics classes, right? Maryland requires you to take 2 hours. The feds require you to take 3. So something happened in HR. I don't know when it was, but they stopped being people that could help you go through your W-4 and your Maryland, I think it's the 503. They just stopped. Like, they no longer really help you. They'll say, oh, go talk to your tax person, or, right? So it must have been something, you know, I never went and researched it, if there was something that came out in HR guidelines about, because I guess people would then blame their HR person if it was wrong. But the new W-4 is completely different.
Right.
And it's asking you questions like, do you have 2 jobs? How much? It's asking for dollar amounts.
Right, and you can't put, like, some people like to change their dependents. You can't even do that anymore.
You can't. Well, you can always go back and change your, so I just was looking over, and even for us, like, if you're not my client, I really can't help you with your W-4.
Okay.
Right? That's everything, but I can give you general conversation.
Okay.
Right? So 2 of the questions that they're asking about, one of them is, you can actually not answer anything if you don't want. And then they're supposed to try to figure it out. But 2 of the questions they're asking is, how many dependents do you have that will get you to 2,000 child dependent credit, right? And so that's for any child 16 and under. Right? And then it's asking you about the $500 credit, which is for any child 17 and older, right? So with this one client, she has 2 that will get her to 2,000, and she has 1 that will give her the 500. So I go, you just put 2,000 here, put 500 here, forget about that other 2. Whatever they're gonna figure out, we'll get the other 2 when we do your tax return. But we want to make sure she gets the most in her paycheck as possible. But we also, because they're not giving us good guidelines about what that now means, I don't want to become a payroll person. I'm like, you know what? Let's just leave off one of the deductions you can get so that we take it with your tax return. And then somebody else, I was like, oh, leave out the 500, take the
pull
2.
The 2.
Yeah, pull the 2. You know, it's gotta be, because it was easy last time. It was single and 2.
Yes.
Single and 4. But I haven't seen Maryland, so I don't think they've
Maryland
changed.
Is fine.
Yeah. So that's what they're asking for, because now they have this whole bunch of new formulas and stuff like that. But just it was so much easier the other way. But I always tell people, look at your pay stub. 97% of the time, if 10% of your gross is coming out for federal and 8% of your gross is coming out for state, you probably will do okay. Okay? But it doesn't always work like that. That's why I say it's 90-something% of the time. Because I look at somebody's pay stub and go, their W-2, come on, you went exempt for half the year. Who told you to do that? Don't listen to your mechanic. Don't who told you to do that?
No, but now you can't. That's all you can do. All you can do now is exempt.
Or even this other thing.
Yeah, but see, I don't know how to do that.
All you can do is exempt.
Well, I don't, cause like
That might be for her job, because y'all can go down to exempt.
you can change your
We
numbers.
can go to exempt, or we can go to
10.
But see, mine's like
You can leave all that blank, and then they'll take the maximum, right?
Well, I have to put
you
a
can
number,
change. See, we
and I
can't
have to
do
either
that.
or put exempt.
Yeah.
See, you can still do it. Mine's
So
not
the-
set up that way.
so-
I thought it was across the board.
Yeah, let me tell you what some guys are doing. I'm like, you guys are so cute. You're discussing taxes at work. And most of them are my clients. So I'm not going to say where they work at, because, you know, I got to be careful. But since they're also at their job, it's a rule that if you want to change, you got to talk to HR.
Ah.
They don't want to talk to HR.
I can break mine up.
So they make a lot of money in October, November, and December
Right.
because it's delivering gifts and stuff. So they all decided that they was just gonna put more money in their 401ks. So because they can just easily go online and put more money in their 401ks, because they used to like increase their dependence, so they brought more money home for those 3 months.
Right.
And since they don't want to talk to HR, they was like, okay, this is what we're doing. I was like, well, God, you guys so cute. Yeah, do that. Put more money in your 401k for those 3 months. It's going to reduce your taxable income anyway. You'll be good, and you're investing in yourself.
What if you don't have 401k?
Why you don't have a 401k?
Well, mine is
What is it,
I work
cuz?
for the government.
So they must have
So
something.
mine is the
You've got
TSP.
the what you call it, but you can put more money in your
And the
thing.
TSP,
Yeah.
sounds really the same thing.
Or you can do an outside IRA or Roth. You gotta just decide, get a plan, get with someone who wants to know where you wanna be in 5 years, right? And then decide, does a Roth work for you or a regular IRA? Or, of course, with all the markets crashing, a bunch of us can afford stock.
That's
right now.
actually one of the questions on here. Should we be taking advantage of the market crashing and start buying in stock?
I'm doing it.
Yeah, I think that you should. And you know what's so funny is I actually bought, I have other ways that I buy, but I bought stock today through Cash App.
Really?
Yeah. You can buy stock through Cash App and there's no fee.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And I bought stock and right after I bought it 5 minutes later I lost 10 cents. But but I'm in for the long haul.
Yeah, Cash App.
It's gonna go up.
It's gonna go up sooner or later. As soon as somebody stops talking, it's going to go back up. Buying stock is yes if you're a patient person and you have some money that you're not going to be oh my gosh why did I put that money in there. This could be a good time, but you're going to have to sit it out. It's going to take a while. You know, I was talking to someone when I lost my 10 cents of the stock. I was like, oh, I lost 10 cents. And he was like, don't sell it. I was like, I gotta sell
That was
my stock
me.
over
Let me
10
pull
cents.
myself out. I'm losing money.
But you can't look at it every day.
No, yeah, don't.
You gotta relax.
It's there.
Yeah.
But you should also make sure you have some money set aside because they already said that most people in this country don't have at least $400 set aside for an emergency.
Which is what we're in.
Yeah. So
That's what I'm doing too. So what do you recommend as far as, I guess, given the times that right now people are probably thinking they should have had an emergency fund or a savings plan. So what did I've heard that the minimum should be at least like 5. I've heard people
Between
say
4 and 5.
5,000.
well, but everybody can't put aside 5,000.
Right.
So it's all going to depend. So first thing nobody ever does is write down all their expenses,
A budget.
right? Because they think, I'm not even talking about a budget yet. I'm just talking
Just write it down.
Write down your expenses, right? Like how much is your rent? How much is your gas and electric? How much are you paying for cell phone? What do you think you're paying for food? And a lot of banks now have tools that as you're making purchases, you can decide, is this a food purchase? Is this what it is? So you can go back and look at those things. If you have no way to get onto your bank account through your app online, please do it. Please go ahead and set yourself up. Because you'd be surprised how many people don't, because when you think of yourself, you think everybody is a mirror of some part of some good stuff you're doing. So you just think everybody's doing that. But you'd be surprised how many, I'm like, well, what's your bank account number so we can deposit your, money into your refund if it's a new client? And they're like, oh, I don't know it. That's okay. Can you go on your app? If you go on your app, oh, I never set up my app. Can you go online? Oh, I never did that.
Oh wow. Keeping track.
So now the hour and a half appointment turns into a 2-hour appointment.
Trying to help them set it up.
Right, and I'm gonna talk mess the whole time.
What age is
So-
these clients?
I'm being honest. I'm from New York. I got good zingers. So I'm gonna get
Do
you.
you find that more with younger or older?
No, it's anybody. I really
Anybody?
can't say, yeah.
You'd be surprised. That's how
Yeah.
people look up and like, where'd my paycheck go? Well, if you writing it down, you would know what's coming out.
Right.
And how much to like
You know how
spend.
anal I am? I keep a budget for at least 8 to 9 months out of the year. So like I'm gonna be in March now. My budget is until October.
Right.
Like month each expense, and every time I get paid, I block off everything that I paid, delete column, next paycheck.
But I think if you write down what you have to pay,
Yeah.
that's your first realization.
Yeah.
Either I have enough money or I don't have enough money.
Money.
That's number one. If you never write it down, you're always just chasing it,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So then you can figure, okay, really, this is how much I pay, and okay, and a lot of people really don't have a lot of money left over after they pay their bills or do some things. But a simple, believe it or not, it sounds real corny, but a simple $5 every time you get paid, because we
Yeah.
don't have emergencies every other day. A simple $5 or $10 every time you get paid to put aside so that if something does happen, you could maybe have some money to fall back on. If you have a credit card, trying to keep that credit card paid off, because a credit card sometimes, is good for an emergency because it's a delayed payback of the emergency. So if you have a $500 emergency and you can put it on a credit card, then you have to try to pay it off as quick as you can, but it's not the same as depleting $500 out of your bank account, right? But most people think they can't save.
Yeah.
Some of my niece, I hope she's watching, I don't remember the thing she's using, but she's using a thing that rounds up.
Acorn.
It's not Acorn, it's another one.
Okay.
It rounds up every one of her purchases and helps put some money aside for her, because you don't miss that 50 cents or something aside for her. I like that it's not, there were banks that did it. I didn't like when the banks did it, because I didn't like it. But sometimes another entity doing it, that's another way that you can save some money. And if you got your tax return, so everybody I talked to, I did their taxes, you should have a plan for your tax return. You should have a plan. That's your first $500 that could be put aside, right? Your first $500, you have a savings. I suggest you get a savings like at a credit union, right? Don't get a card for it.
Yeah.
Have money, have part of your tax return go into the credit union, $500. You should have a plan. I told everybody there are 3 things that's coming up after tax season. Somebody's birthday, shop-free weekend, shop-free week with the going back to school, and Christmas. They're not surprises. It's not like you wake up one day and go, oh my God, they brought Christmas back. So
It's your birthday again.
why can't you?
What happened?
Right. It has snuck up on us again. You can.
You know, it's funny. The budgeting thing is important though. If I had went, we had to go get another car, and we were sitting in the finance guy's office, and he was telling us how much the payment was going to be. And so I pulled my phone out, and I was looking. He's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm pulling up my budget to see if we can afford this payment, because it's not what we thought it was going to be originally." So he was like, "I've never had
Oh,
nobody
yeah, I'm not used to
But
that.
that's
that
weird.
ever."
Because, I mean,
I was like, I gotta make sure that I can afford this
right,
payment.
right.
So.
But that's common. You would think that's common sense.
No, but so I wouldn't want to use that word against
I
people.
understand why
I understand.
You
Because
have a car payment you can't afford.
I know, but because of everything happened with Corona and everything, I wanted to bring a young lady named Darlene with me, and she does the Be Smart project. And hope you're watching, Darlene. She talks to you about when to start talking to your children about money.
Fine.
So actually, if no one ever talked to you about money, never ever. Then you're saying, now I've got to open up this tool chest that nobody ever put anything in and try to figure out, okay, I'm an adult now, so I need to know what goes in that tool chest. And you're like, but I'm already dealing with all the stuff, good stuff and bad stuff that's already in my tool chest. And now you're asking me, no, it's too much. We've got to talk to our kids about money, because that's where it starts.
That was one thing my grandfather, the importance of always paying everything cash. He never had a credit card. pay cash for his cars, everything.
Yeah.
And that's really hard nowadays.
Yeah, in your
really, really hard
grandpa's
to
age,
pay,
probably
but
mine
it's the
was
best.
easier.
It's the best thing, so you won't be into debt.
Except then when you go, debt is not, okay, so there is acceptable debt. What is not acceptable is deficit, which is the difference. Like a house is a debt.
Yeah.
And as long as you can afford it, you're not in a deficit. So even when the government's talking about debt and deficit, everyone has debt, right? I have a car, I have debt. I had somebody hit my car, so I was able to take that money and some other money and put a substantial down payment on my car. And trust me, I was like upset for 2 months afterwards. So I was like, I shouldn't have spent that money. But now on this end, I mean, like right now I only owe like $1,500 on my car, and the book value on my car is like $9,000.
So that's good.
So if somebody hit my car right now, don't nobody hit my car. I
don't
would
wish
just
that.
walk away, the other way. But debt is okay. It's if it's manageable and if you're not at a deficit. So that's the difference. Everybody has a little debt, right? But you gotta be able to maintain it. But talk to your children about money. Talk to your children about delayed gratifications. Most of us don't have a delayed gratification mentality. We want everything now. I was in Best Buy the other day, and they got a coffee cup for $100 that you put it on and it heats up. Like why would you have to buy that to heat up your coffee cup? Go ahead and get your poison in your microwave and put your. But I'm saying there's like a $30 thermos you can buy to keep your. And I love gadgets. I'm
Man,
like
they're at
data person.
They're at Five Below.
Right.
You got a container from Five Below that keeps it hot.
Right. Listen, a minute in the microwave now is killing some of us. Right? We're like, take a whole minute. So you gotta teach your kids delayed gratification, budgets, how to budget, even in a little piggy bank.
That's what I do with my daughter. I try to give her, and she's only 5, I give her a little allowance. But I tell her when you do go out, you have to spend some of your money, but she doesn't like to spend any of it. But
That's
she
good.
doesn't like to spend none. She wants
She's
to
gonna
spend
be a
my
rich
money.
hoarder of money.
Yeah,
That's okay.
she's already got the idea, but I do teach her she does, so that way when she does leave the store, she has some left over and she doesn't spend it all.
Do you know many kids go off to college and have no idea how to budget money? That's why they had to make a law to stop the credit card companies from trying to go after the kids. Yeah.
That's good.
Like they try to downplay that, but they still go after them. But children go off to college. Parents have never talked to them about money, and if nobody ever talked to you, it's hard unless you make a conscious decision to sit down and do it. Yeah. So, and I see it all the time. Like I'll have some. I do get a lot of young people, right, that will come because I've got we all got these nieces and nephews that are not really nieces and nephews. And they're like, oh, go see my aunt. And I'm like, where are your parents?
Right.
Why are you at 22 doing your tax return? Where are your parents? How come you guys haven't sat down together and figure out what should be happening, right? But just a little plug for my service. If you have a child in college or in school and they're working, I will do their tax return free if I do yours.
Oh, nice.
I do yours, I'll do it free. You have to bring their tax return and them with you, right? Because if you ask me to do it another time, now you're taking up my time and then it'll be like $75. But if you bring them with you, then I will do, if they're in high school or college, I will do their tax return for free.
That's nice.
So how do you feel about like when people use the services out here now, like TurboTax and stuff like that? How do you feel about those?
So, this is how I feel that some people's. The problem having with TurboTax and them now is they've tried to make it so simple they've made it harder. And there was an article out recently that TurboTax is flipping people. Like you think you're doing the free one, and then you turn out and you have to do charging you for it. And then they're telling you to scan in your stuff, and then if you don't know what you're doing, because this happened last year, this is how I found out they was asking you to scan in your stuff. A young lady I used to Texas for she said, I'm gonna try it my own. I was like, okay. And then Then she called me and she said, I don't think something's not right. Then I was like, and she's like, could you check? And I'm like, okay. Only because she's young, you know. And so when she scanned her thing, they put it in the wrong category. Right? So she was actually going to get a bigger refund than she should have, which then could have got caught later.
Yeah.
Right? So I was like, no, it should be this amount when you scan. But if you don't know the difference between it should be in a W-2 or is it a retirement or something else and it puts it in the wrong thing, then so I just feel like you should be, I would prefer, you don't have to go to a person like me. There is Cash something, I can't think of the name. They do free taxes and stuff. I would prefer you do that instead of because at least somebody's looking at your stuff.
Yeah.
The biggest problem with all of these things is I'm still open in June, right? And if you get a letter from the IRS asking you to prove that you can claim these children, yeah, TurboTax, you can stare at that screen all day. TurboTax is not going to help you get that together for the IRS. And I don't know if TurboTax has, because now they have a thing, because they send a thing to me and ask me that I want to be the online tax person for TurboTax. I was like, nah. But I don't know if they then talk you through or if they try to encourage you to take, this year I did start offering some insurance on tax returns. And only because when you're really helping somebody get stuff together, it can take hours. And when you pay for your tax return, that paid for one additional hour. And that's why at Capri, we go through that when we're doing it. Like, they say, prove these are your kids. What are you going to send them? Can you get your hands on it? They say, prove you live here. Can you get it? Can you put your hands on it? Right?
Yeah.
We go through that. I even go, if they put you and your kids in a room and they ask your kids, are you related? Are your kids going to say yes? And everybody laughs. But I actually had one dad go, oh wow, he better.
I didn't know that they asked you to prove, well, I guess in your situation, they asked you to prove that the child is yours.
Because
They can Social Security card.
yeah, they can. They can ask you to prove your Schedule A if you don't know what that is. I had one lady, they asked, she wasn't my client. I got her now as a client. They asked her to prove her Schedule A. She had no idea what a Schedule A was. And she called her tax preparer and he was like, oh, what? What they want? She said, my Schedule A. And he said, well, send it to them. Why would you send the IRS what they already had? They asked for the documents.
So for people who don't know what a Schedule A is.
So it's when you itemize.
Okay.
It's when you itemize. And very rarely do they, occasionally ask for proof within the same year. But usually they ask for proof 2 years later. They'll go back and go, oh, we was looking at your 2000, so we're 19 now. We was looking at your 2017, we need you to prove your Schedule A. Or we need you to prove that you can claim these children. Or we need you to prove your Schedule C. Schedule C is if you work for yourself and you're a sole proprietor.
So I keep a receipt for that stuff.
Right, but do you know how bad people don't always keep receipts, and it's really worth it to buy one of those things where you can, I use Neat Receipts, where you can click the receipt, it gets stored up in the cloud because the paper on receipts start to fade away after a while.
Right, and you can't see the ink in there. So what's the difference? I know sometimes they give you the option to do the standard deduction or the, so which one is better?
So it all depends on your circumstance, right? So itemization, okay, so they doubled, I want some notes just in case I forgot the numbers because they keep changing them. So in 2018, because of the new tax act, they call it the Job Tax Act and stuff, they got rid of the personal exemptions and they doubled the standard deduction. Okay, so where before 8, like a single person was 6, now it's 12. Head of household was 9, and people confuse head of household. head of household was 9, now it's 18. It's actually a little more because it was 18, then this year it went up by $200 or something each other room. So it all depends. So if you're, and just because you're buying a house doesn't mean you itemize either, right? So the first thing on our itemization is medical expenses. And it used to be 10%, then they dropped it down to 7.5% of your income. And then anything over that you could deduct. So if you actually had a lot of medical expenses you had to pay for yourself, if for some reason everybody seems to think everybody's job is offering health insurance, they're not, or everybody's job is offering pre-tax deduction for health insurance, they're not everybody. I worked this one place, they negotiated health insurance for us, but they did not give it to us. You had to pay it yourself.
So that's when you start itemizing, when you actually tell them how much you spend.
Right, but so the first thing is medical, then the next thing is taxes, state taxes, real estate taxes, if you owe taxes to the state last year. Then your mortgage interest, if you just bought a house, points, if you had to take the insurance because your credit wasn't that good and they dropped your interest rate down and you took the insurance. They got rid of the job thing, so you can't deduct your miles, uniforms, any of that anymore. So you have to bring all that to your tax preparer so he or she I didn't say I. So he or she can decide what's best for you. So I'll give you an example. So a married couple gets filing joint is $24,000, right? But I had a client, he brought in all his stuff, they brought in all his stuff, and they actually itemized at 22. So you would say, oh, well, take the 24 because the 24 is more than the 22. But if you take standard deduction for the federal, you have to take standard deduction for the state. Standard deduction for the state is way lower. So we do it both ways, and they actually ended up getting $500 more if we took his lower itemization because the state went up, the refund from the state. So what little came down from the feds, right? Because it's not a dollar for dollar. Like just because you deduct $24,000, now you take the 22, it's not like your tax return is $2,000 more.
Right.
Like $1,000 could be worth 50 cents. I've never done it proportionally, but it's but so then we said, oh, we'll go for the lower one. But if, let's say in the same instance, if he came in and it was 24 and I only could itemize him to 11, then we would go for the 24. So it all depends. If you're buying a house, number one, you should always bring your things in, right? If you have a lot of money coming out, if you're a single person and you make like $80,000 a year and you have a lot coming out for state taxes, right? And different things, you should just let your tax preparer go through that with you. So I can't say, I think if you're, you're 20,000, 30,000, you're not buying a house, standard deduction is probably the way to go. But if you've got a lot, other things going on, don't dismiss it. Let your tax preparer go through it.
So when you are married, filing separate, is that when your spouse, is that when one of them can do itemized and the other one has to do standard?
No, if whatever one does, the other has to do.
Oh,
Really?
okay.
Yeah, whenever one does, the other has to do.
What do you recommend? Because that's a big thing. Like, how do you know whether you should file separately or jointly?
You should come together to see your tax preparer. Because I have people you should come together. Usually people do married filing separate because somebody owes money.
But is that always a good idea?
No, sometimes it all depends, right? But you lose some of your credits when you do married filing separately.
I do married filing separately.
Yeah, so if you pay student loans, you lose that. You can't deduct that anymore.
I only do it because we're in that program where they're getting rid of our loans after 10 years.
Right.
So they tell you have to do married filing separate.
Because they're looking at the income.
credits because either I'm gonna owe anyway. I can't figure it out why I keep owing them.
So that's what I thought. Like, if I owe, it's
You need to come
better.
see me.
I thought it's better to file jointly because then adding him on, I won't owe.
So
lot of
it
the
all
time.
depends. That's why you really
That's why
gotta
we
sit
always
down.
do jointly.
But it's not wrong to do jointly. You just gotta sit down. There's no, I cannot give you everybody should do this. Everybody's
Right.
circumstance
Everybody's
is different. And so you need to come sit down and let's look at it together.
But I do
and
have a question.
decide.
Prior to being married, if my husband owes, am I liable for his taxes?
No, so even if you're married and your husband or wife does something not necessarily about, like, so give me an example. Let's say your husband or wife owns a business, right? And you guys file together, and your husband or wife is illegally underreporting their income.
Illegally
Underreporting their income, right? And the IRS finds out, and you didn't know. You could do an innocent spouse. I was innocent. There is an innocent spouse.
We're going down together.
I am innocent to the fraud
He ain't innocent.
that was
Right
going
there, and you
on.
want me like,
He sat right there.
I
I said, submit.
He did it for me.
Right, I don't even look at his books. He books with the books. There's another one. There's an injured spouse. Like let's say your significant other brings debt into the marriage, right? And there's an injured spouse form. Then that's different. I should not be injured by my spouse's debt. So then the problem is, as a taxpayer, I cannot tell you how much you're going to get. All I can do is help fill out the forms and say these are the uninjured spouse credits, right? This is like a sad thing to say, but definitely if like they're married and the kids are one person's and not really them, it's either like this person had them kids before
Right.
they married this person.
So what about like for child support? How does that work?
Child support does not, that's injured spouse.
Oh, okay.
That's injured spouse. Unless together you just decide you want to help pay down that bill. If you tell me.
Now, when you do marriage filing and stuff, I got a question. Y'all can put the same address on it,
Yes,
right?
yeah. Right, you're supposed to.
Oh.
You married, you found, you don't have to be separated.
So I put.
I don't want to be part of any. I don't know what's happening with your tax return. Let's move this. I don't know her.
Yes, she did.
That's the innocent tax preparer.
Right, listen, tax preparer.
Say no, but we do own two houses.
Some
So,
people don't live
sometimes-
together and they still file their taxes together.
We just
And they use other, Anyway, what's
Some
another
people can't.
question?
You can't do that. You can't do that.
Huh? What's another question?
That is a question.
No, if you're filing married filing separate, it does. Doesn't matter.
But do you have people who, married couples who do have own like multiple houses and things like that? Like how do they, do one person take my house and the other take the
No.
other house? How do they do
Because
that?
there's no need to do that. You can
So
vote.
what
You
happens with
can.
the house?
If
Okay,
you filing separate,
so-
like should one just take both houses?
Wait, are you talking about mortgages? 'Cause
Yes.
that's-
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
So
mortgages.
here's a little unknown thing, that two people can actually claim interest on the same house. If both people are
How?
making payments.
What?
If
Oh,
both
'cause if
people are,
They
so
both would have to be alone. Or
yes and no. So if both people, if you're married and both people are paying the loans, so you could do it the way you're doing it. You can do, I'm taking the interest on this house, you take the interest on this house. So we're both itemizing. But let's say you only have one house and you pay 50% and the other person pays 50%, right? Then your taxpayer would have to do the math, because 50% of the payment is not 50% of
That's a lot.
the interest, right? You got to figure out how much of this interest. It's easy when it's 50-50. But like if one person's paying 60%, one person's 40%, you just got to figure it out. And then when you do the taxes, it said, can someone else also claim taxes on this mortgage? And you put their name in, and then the IRS knows that two of you, you can't take the whole thing. Like you can't take 8 and they take 8. If it's 8, then one of you is taking 4, the other one's taking 4. Because you have to itemize. Both of you have to itemize if one of you itemizes.
That's where the head of household comes in.
Nope. Head of household is a whole different thing. Yeah. Head of household, you have to have, first of all, a qualified dependent to claim head of household. Everybody, like I've had people like, I'm the head of household. And I'm like, you don't have no kids. So you're single for tax purposes.
That's funny.
You're not supporting a parent. You have to have a qualified dependent to claim head of household, not be married, and not with that person you're married to. After a certain amount of time, that other person would do single, as a kids and stuff. The biggest difference between head of household and single is the standard deduction, because every other credit is the same. Like the child tax credit is the same, the earned income credit is the same. The biggest difference is, do we deduct $12,200 off your income, or do we deduct $18,200, whatever I wrote them down, whatever the new numbers are, off your income. Other than that, you don't, like, people think, oh, if I'm doing head of household, then I don't get this. No, we might not be able to reduce your initial income the same way. But first you have to start with a child. Then you have to, are you paying for your living? You know? So there's a bunch of questions your tax preparer should be asking you. And the reason we ask all these questions too is my job, you're paying for my skill. You're paying for me to protect you. That's what you're paying for. Because I used to do taxes by hand before there was computers. That could, you could put it in.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, and I jokingly told everybody the first year the software went live, I still did them by hand and then did them in the That's some arrogant mess, right? I needed the computer to prove to me he could come up with the same number.
Right.
Yeah, that could come up with the same number I did. But you're paying for protection. You're paying for someone to explain stuff to you. You're paying for my skill, right? Because we can just sit down and it's math.
Yeah.
It's math. But you're paying for more than just the return, and you're paying for me to make sure you're good. So.
I do have another question. So I know a lot of people, when you, I guess, do your W-2, I haven't done it. You know how you can put single or married?
Well, that's what you was talking about with the new W-4s.
Oh, is it? Okay.
That show itself on the W-2s. So
if you do single or married, that'll determine how much taxes you should be taxed throughout the year, right?
Throughout the year, yes.
So if you put single and you married,
we can't put single and married.
If you put single but you are married,
that's still about. They're gonna take more money.
Yeah.
If you could still do single and zero, they're gonna take more money.
Oh, okay, so it really don't matter what you
put there. That is. It's when you go exempt and you shouldn't. The
exempt means they're not taking nothing out.
Not taking nothing.
Right. So it's better to just put So that's the problem that I hear a lot of people having, is just knowing how many exemptions to put. Like now, like this year, I said I'm not going to touch my taxes this year. So I put it down to 1. Just take it all out. I don't care no more.
So listen, I just put a joke, and it's not because I'm a tax preparer. I also have another small business. I do data management. I work with Head Start programs, child cares, and I do some state stuff with the state because I'm part of the association for Maryland Head Start. But I just put a joke like on my Facebook, and my joke is everybody, I hate paying taxes. They're robbing me. The CDC staff is paid by taxes. Everybody, oh, can we set an appointment? I'm using a link now. You can't come to my office. Yeah. So, listen, understand how people feel about taxes.
That was
Right.
the question on here. When
But-
people say, should you, well, they want their money throughout the year
And that's a good
instead
thing.
of at the end of the year.
That's a good thing. You
That is a
should
good thing.
not give in to get back.
Okay.
You should get as much as you can
Throughout the year?
throughout the year.
Why? That's where you get confused.
No,
It
because you
depends
go
on
too
how,
deep.
yeah, how
You go
much
too
you
deep.
did.
Oh, so
You
that's
go
what it is.
Yeah.
too deep.
Going too deep.
Yeah.
You go
Yeah,
too
it's
deep.
fault. I'm gonna show you my.
Yeah, you
Show
go
you
too
my
deep.
pay stubs so you can tell me how much money I should be getting taken out.
Do you know the people that I would say that are the most worried of my clients
Who?
that they will owe is usually the people that make between 15 to 25, 30,000 and they got 3 or 4 kids. They are so worried all the time. They'll call me, Miss Yvonne, I don't think they took enough money on my check. And then I always have somebody that makes like 80,000 walk in and go, yeah, I went exam here for years, so I don't hear you mess when you start doing my taxes. I don't want to hear it. Let's just do this. I had one person, this year I'm paying you to shut up. How much is that?
No, she didn't.
I was like, that was a guy. We laughed. I was like, that ain't happening. That is not happening. If he's watching, he knows it's him.
People know,
Yeah.
like, when they mess with their taxes, and
They
they
already
have
know what
a,
it is.
yeah, they have a,
Or they be like, I'm just trying to break even.
Yeah, if you're not getting refundable credits, right?
I was.
You're only getting your own money back.
Yeah.
There's other things to do with that money.
You take
Put
it
it
and
in
give
your
it back to
403B. Put it in your 401k.
Oh, yeah.
Invest
also
in
get
something.
something.
Pay off your credit cards.
I bought a 403B.
Put it in a 529
What is
plan.
403B.
That's nonprofits.
Nonprofit,
Yeah, have 403Bs.
I don't know what the question was.
How does it work? Like if you go out on like short-term, long-term disability? Because I'm getting ready to do that.
Yeah,
They
they'll
take
give it. It'll be a
taxes?
W2. Yes, please let them
So-
take taxes.
So you would do that separately from your regular W-2?
Right. So some depends on what company. If your company uses a third party,
Mhm.
the third party will ask you about taxes.
Okay.
They should. They should ask you about taxes. So if you, I've had a lot of people, like, there's some people we have to go over everything.
Mhm.
And then some people like, I don't mind owing $200, $300 at the end of the year,
That's me.
right? Because I got most of my money during the year, that's okay too. But if you're owing $1,200, $2,000, $5,000,
Oh yeah.
at the end, why is she laughing over here? At the end of the year, then, for some people, there's an acceptable amount because they have that money
Yeah.
and they can pay it right away.
That's.
But you still could end up with a penalty.
A penalty for what?
Look at you.
So let me just a couple
That's what
comments.
I
Okay,
was
okay.
saying. I was gonna say what happened to my
Yes.
husband.
Yeah,
He couldn't touch his for years
Yeah.
because he owed, I think, for 2 years, and they was like, oh,
So he would file when they would just take it?
oh yeah, they're gonna
Yeah.
take that money.
oh yeah.
They're gonna take our money because we are the government. I need you to remember that. Listen, we need to be worried about how they spend our money. That's what we need to go after them about.
So
Because
what?
we all have to chip in. We have to. I mean, I never got a bill to pay my son's teacher,
Right,
right? I got to chip in something,
right.
right? If my house catch fire, I've never had to shovel the street in front of my house.
I bet you now people are going to be advocating to pay these teachers more now that these kids is home.
Oh yeah, but people, I
Kids
think
are home.
this is going to open our eyes, hopefully, to a lot of the how frail our system is
Yeah.
and stuff. But just want to tell everybody, if you're going to get a refund, you have 2 additional tax seasons to do your return. So
Wait,
like
what?
2 additional tax seasons if you get a refund.
Oh.
Oh.
So like this is 19. Here's the difference. If you have not done your taxes for 17 and 18, a professional tax preparer can still electronically file your you can't do it yourself, but a professional one, we can still electronically file your tax return. You need to go see somebody before April 15th. It
That's
can
if
be done
you
there.
didn't file before?
If you didn't file 17 and 18, but you're getting a refund, we can
How do you
still
get a refund if you don't file?
Right.
no. If you haven't filed,
Uh-huh.
because I know people who haven't filed their tax returns,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
I know them because I've done it for them. So and you haven't filed your 17 and 18,
Okay.
there's no penalty if you file and you're getting a refund.
But what if you aren't
'cause you-
getting a refund?
No,
What's
there
the
could be a penalty. It depends on the amount.
How much you owe.
Right, how much you owe.
Oh.
But a professional tax preparer, even if you owe, a professional tax preparer can do it for you and should be able to electronically file it in and then help you plot how you're going to do. Like, I've had somebody, they didn't do their 17 and 18 because they were afraid they were going to owe. And then when they came in, it really wasn't that much, but they were getting a refund in 19. Right? So we sent their 17, we sent their 18, we're waiting for the dust to clear, and then we're going to send their 19.
So that what's owed can be pulled from the
Pull
19.
from the
I do
19
know.
and whatever penalties and stuff like
Yeah.
that, right? Because it makes no sense for me sitting there 19 and the IRS either go, wait a minute, where's your 17 and 18? We're gonna hold it anyway,
Yeah.
right? So you might as well just do your taxes.
I do have a question with the automatic payments. Did you have anybody saying that they automatically stopped taking them out?
Wait.
Because we had an issue with that. They just stopped.
Yeah, they'll stop.
Oh,
You gotta
yeah,
make
where
sure
you
that
set
you
up
pay
for
it.
payments?
Right.
I'm like,
No, I never had anybody do
Because like, y'all
that.
ain't take my money this week, this month.
Right,
What's
I
happening?
Are you talking about
Yeah.
like you owe the IRS?
Right. And
You
set up
owed
payment
us.
plans.
You owed us.
Because we
And the people we hired to go get it came after you.
Right. But then they stopped. They just stopped.
And what did they say when you called? I've never had that happen. What happened when you called them?
They don't know.
They don't know.
Did they
They
start
don't
back
know.
up again?
Yeah, you just.
Yeah, you
but
just
they
call
just
them.
don't know.
They just stop.
But I had that happen.
I mean, it's a computer.
Yeah,
It's
but I watch
always
mine
like
every month.
nobody's sitting there every
Make sure
week
that-
pushing a button.
Right.
It could be something, a computer
System.
glitch
Right.
or something to that nature.
Girl, you better pay that payment. I'm not trying to do that.
But try to save. You sometimes you got to go to somebody else to help you save.
Yeah.
I know. I also know a few people. I've got Jen with Northwest. She's really good. She can sit down with people. Some people need tough love to save. You need it to get your stuff together. If you, it's like asking a child to stop
My
running
biggest
around.
thing,
If they
I would-
could, they would.
I put too much in, and then I'm always taking out.
Yeah, you gotta stop doing that.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
just
not
need a-
realistic. I'm
You
not
need a
realistic.
Roth.
You need
so
a
you
Roth?
can take it out without a penalty.
I was going to ask you, what's the difference between...
So a Roth, a regular IRA, you get tax break benefits now. So if you take a regular IRA, we can actually, that's a thing called a deduction. We can deduct that off your income. Because the goal is to reduce your income to what you're gonna pay taxes on. A Roth does not give you that same now, right? But a Roth can be taken out as long as there's a way to do it so you're not touching any of the interest, right? A Roth can be taken out pretty much without a penalty, but when you get ready to take it out later, when you retire it, if you take it out the right way, like you may have to pay interest on the interest, but the I can't think of the word, but the amount that you put in, you can start to withdraw that, and it doesn't affect Social Security, and you don't pay taxes on it. But it's good to have both if you can. And you don't need. Listen, you could have $100 in. You put $100 in an IRA every year. It does not have to be $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. And the younger you are, the better that you start these things.
It's funny. I had someone say at work, I don't know if I'll even make it to the
That's
age of
short-sighted.
retirement, so I just gonna take my money out now.
That's a little short-sighted because if she make it there, she's gonna be a little pissed. Right. So that's like saying I don't want to go back to school because it's gonna take 10 years. 10 years is gonna pass anyway.
Yeah,
You get to the end of 10 years, you're like, oh, I could have had 2 degrees.
Yeah.
that's true.
Right.
Yeah.
We have to not be afraid to invest in ourselves and also think about leaving financial legacies. I've got three of my brothers also own their own business. We always talk about leaving legacies for our families, our kids, more than just making money and things like that. Interest rates are low right now, so if you ever thought about buying a house to rent it out or living yourself, this might be a good time. So yeah, the market definitely it's lower. It's a shame why it's lower right now and why we can take advantage of things. I haven't yet figured out how this it works for somebody else, and I've been having conversations with people. We just can't figure it out yet. How this is working for someone else.
What do you mean?
Like, things happen, everything is connected.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? And where it looks like, oh, stocks are so low, this is so good. You know, the Fed's just injected some money to try to help the market, and then it bottomed out almost as soon as they put it in. But that helps somebody.
Yeah.
It's just that's not my wheelbarrow, you know. So
Or to help you.
yeah, no, not my wheelbarrow to really understand how does this help the 1%, or how does this? That's not my thing. So that's why I always try to surround myself with people who just a little smarter than me.
Yeah.
So that we can talk about it. But we have to take care of ourselves, and you got to try to save some money. And like I said, even if you call me, I can recommend some people that can be those people. You know, they have businesses and stuff. Like I said, Jen, she does this. She really, sometimes people need someone else to sit on them to make sure it gets done. I have a tax client, he's a chef.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went to this event, and he introduced everybody, and he said, and this is my accountability person.
And you?
Not me, I ain't an
Oh, okay.
accountability person. But he introduced somebody that was his account. I'm an accountability person as far as trying to make sure, you know, like, he's in, like I said, I used to need receipts, so I set up an account for him and my need receipts so he can upload stuff and blah, blah, blah. But an accounting person is someone you say, I'm gonna do this on Tuesday, and they like, did you do it?
Mm-hmm.
Did you do
Say,
it on
hey, it's Tuesday. Don't
Right,
forget.
and I was like, I need one of them. I gotta get me an accountability person.
I think it's good to have an accountability person
Yeah.
for just many different reasons and different aspects of your life. I think, you know, we're all three accountable to one another in some way, shape, or form. We're not going to sit over here and let each other just, you know, be.
And we probably all have that person. You just never thought about him like
Yeah.
that. And when he said it, it made me really think, yeah, who's my accountability person? Because you have people that you talk to and they help guide you, but that's not necessarily your accountability person.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good.
This is good. Thank you.
Look,
Thank
we
you.
gotta do a part 2 because we
Yes.
barely hit half these questions.
I am more
It's a
than
lot of
glad
information
to
to
come
unpack.
back anytime. And there's a couple other people I was saying, you
Mhm.
know, that would be good. So we got Kimberly that does computer stuff, and she can talk to you about how to protect your kids on the internet, and a few other people. So
Yeah, we got to talk about the chef.
yes, and maybe I can get you ladies to go on his podcast,
So we cook in his kitchen.
cook in his kitchen.
So that would be fun.
I think that would be fun.
And that's less than 10 people. So we good there.
Yeah, it's less than 10 people,
We good
right?
there.
You don't see where I'm sitting. Stop me like the basketball players.
So
Yeah.
I am on
I want
Facebook.
everybody to see this.
Is everybody still on here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am on Facebook. It's Bellamy Tax Services. So please like my page, and then it'll show you how to contact me if you have any questions or still waiting to get your taxes done. I do have a secure portal, so we don't have to. But when I finish your taxes, we're gonna Skype or something, so we can go through it. We're still gonna go through that tax return.
Go through it.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to. So we always ask our guests to leave us with like a positive saying, words of affirmation. Is there something that you can give us or your viewers, something that you say to yourself that's empowering?
Besides, get up. No, I'm
That's
joking.
one. That's one.
So right now on my door, when you walk out the door at my house, I picked it up at Valentine's Day, but I kept it,
Mhm.
and it's on the door on our side, not on the other side. And when you go to leave out of my door, where it's my kitchen, and you walk down the steps to where the cars are, and it says, "Lead with your heart."
Okay.
And or follow your heart. It's about your heart. You know, I want everybody that walks out of my house, when you're walking out, I want you to lead with your heart. Make decisions today. And that doesn't mean you be foolish.
Mm-hmm.
It just means that you just lead with your heart, right? And so I left that up, and I decided I'm going to keep it there. Because I want everybody to see that as they walk out the door.
Like it. Yes.
I can dig it.
You can dig it.
Thank
Alright.
you.
Well, we are out. We will see you guys next Monday. We will
Hopefully.
have-
Yeah.
Hopefully.
We gonna see everybody next Monday. Where you going?
Where the government sending us?
Oh Lord.
Oh,
Please,
Ah.
I need that.
Next week we have what is
who's coming next week?
Beauty, no,
sip and slay. The ladies are sip and slay. They're supposed to be having an event. I'm not sure if it's still going on with the new regulations and restrictions going on, but we're still gonna have them on the show so they can talk about their. I think they each have a business, but they came together to do this event for Women's History Month.
Oh, that's cool. I think I saw that on Facebook.
We have reposted. You probably saw it on our page. We have
Okay.
reposted their flyer. So they'll be here next week, so we can talk about sip and slay.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
I definitely will be watching.
Yeah.
I'm gonna share your page. I already shared your page with all my clients. So
Thank
That's
you.
something you like.
Yeah.
Okay, ooh.
Hey, new clients, thank you guys for following us and liking us. Stay tuned. There's a lot more information to unpack. This very well may be a part 2, so we're going to have you back.
Stay tuned.
You know I love you, girl.
I love you too, girl. I love you too. All right, y'all, we out. Stay safe. Wash y'all's hands.